actually do have one cosmetic change.
Sure.
The part where it talks about the anime kanji P&L statement is just, I think, misspelled from likely to likely.
Do you know where I'm from?
You talked. Yes.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I found the typo.
But that's the only.
Corrected. In which case, I have a motion then to approve the May meeting minutes as amended.
Do we have a second? I'll second.
Seconds.
And I have a point of information that our other director, Mark Mansella, had to leave for unforeseen circumstances.
Okay. Okay. It's corrected now too. Okay.
All right, we have motion and second. May I have a roll call vote?
Okay. John?
Aye.
Cecilia?
Aye.
I vote aye. Emiko?
Aye.
Johannes?
Aye.
Motion carried with 5 votes in favor, no votes abstaining, no votes against.
All right, so we have approved the open board meeting minutes of May. And what is the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda would be old business. So the CEO report.
All right, for this, I will turn the floor over to our CEO, Mark Perez.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Sorry we started a little bit late. We will be releasing some numbers for you, as well as some other information for the board to keep them updated about this year's Anime Expo. First up, we closed registration early yesterday at 2 p.m. We had previously set a cap of 85,000. However, due to the amount of people in the convention center and for health and safety, we decided to lower that cap to 80,000. So we have broken our 80,000 individuals in the building. We also had a number of issues with registration this year due to temperature. We did, as requested, double our registration throughput. However, we grew by 20,000 this year as opposed to the 10,000 from last year. So we did continue to see a number of issues. We also dispersed 30,000 bottles of water and set up tents to try and keep people out of the sun. There were still a number of issues, but we did our best to try and work through them. So we're continuing to update on social media to keep people informed and responding to them and receiving messages there. ConOps took a number of complaints this year regarding a number of different things. One of the biggest complaints was autographs for panels, and the secondary one would be lines for panel rooms, individuals in the sun, and a lack of support for them. So they are going to continue to work on that today, and we're definitely going to need to come up with new options for next year, as far as keeping people out of the sun, obviously, but also in better organization of both autographs and declines. The exhibit hall is 100% sold out this year. And we have a very, very high rebook rate for 2015. 2015 branch is also already open, and about 2,000 people have already registered. The guests are largely very happy. Interesting. There's a moth joining our con. Mr. Secretary, we recognize a moth as entering the board meeting. back to the meeting. The show itself has been a rather good success, if not with definitely a lot of hiccups. We really are seeing some growing pains, and we continue to try and adjust to them. Security was doubled this year as well, both from an access control staff perspective as well as a hired third-party security perspective. So, we're doing what we can, but it's obviously not enough. So we'll continue to focus in on that. Otherwise, the company is doing really well. We're in our new office this year. That moved in January, so we're happy to be there. And we're up and running. I have no further updates.
Okay, thank you, Mark Perez. Do any board members have any questions?
But I would like to say that the staff has done a wonderful job, and especially access control. They've been working tirelessly to make sure that people get through the lines and through registration. It's really amazing. We have incredible staff. It's just been so good. I've been going around giving them hugs. Hopefully it helps them. That's all I can really do.
Oh, thank you, Cecilia. Any further questions or comments? All right. So the next item is...
Next item would be officer reports.
All right. So since Hank Wong's not here, I'll be giving the vice chair report. So throughout the convention, we have met in various locations to do meetings, to have updates. One of the most important ones, actually, that crossed was Mark Manansala gave me a call saying that, hey, access control, our red vets have been tirelessly working. And so one of the things that we were trying to do was, okay, so what can we do? The mustered people, we tried to get as much as we could. I think the CEO for capping sales, it's great to have growth, but at this rate, we really want to take care and make sure our staff is safe, well secured, and not only that, have food and water. So I'm happy to say that we were able to release some help to them yesterday, and I hope that moving forward that we will be able to adequately prepare for great surges of income and people helping us in 2015. That being said, I was able to run around the convention center in between meetings to talk to people. I have gotten a lot of feedback that I will be sharing with the rest of operations. Just to note again that the Board of Directors have no operational say. We are just a governance model where we look at the overall scope and help with the guidance of the organization, the direction where it goes. One of the nice things that I have seen this convention is a lot more camaraderie between staff and between attendees. There is a big difference that I see here versus other conventions where people behind me on the shuttle, in front of me in the lines, are just talking to each other. And then, hey, I've just met this person and now they're my friend. So this is one of the unique things of Anime Expo and one of the reasons why I always look forward to it and spending time to really try to make sure that this event goes off without hitch. Thank you. All right. May I have the next, I believe it's...
Just finishing out typing.
It's okay. I know, it's a rough job. It was mine last year. That's right.
Before the advent of
The
laptops.
next update we have is the treasurer report.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Cecilia Amo. I am the treasurer this year for the SPJA. The last couple of years I was the secretary, so I have But I want to thank you all again for your continued support of Anime Expo. to the attendees, to the staff and volunteers. It's just, you might have noticed, but we've been experiencing some incredible growth. 10,000 last year and 20,000 this year. Since 2012, when John was the treasurer, the SPJA has been creating new financial policies and procedures, as well as developing sound financial strategies in anticipation of this growth. And the growth has exceeded even our expectations, even though we were anticipating the trend of growth. But the solid foundation of financial, fiscal responsibility and policies made possible for the SPJ to have, at least adequate resources to carry the burgeoning growth, expand our programming, invest in infrastructure. With growth comes stretching of resources and increased cost. But because of what we have put in place since John's term as treasurer, the cost was, sorry, it's early. This just sounded so good this morning. Hold on. I don't want to, Consequently, the proportion of increasing expenditures in the face of such growth did not create a financial burden on the SPJA. So that was the sentence I wrote this morning. But as the SPJA continues to grow, the board will be diligent in maintaining sound financial strategy while continuing to help people connect, collaborate, and create around the culture of anime. One of the best things I heard, and I'm so sorry, I apologize for my voice. One of the best things I heard from an exhibitor who also goes to Comic-Con, I asked him what he thought about how we're growing and how large this convention is and what the difference is between us and Comic-Con. And he said that even though there are a lot of people here, it still feels like our people. And I have a firm commitment that no matter what happens in the future, I want this convention to always feel like our people, and that the sense of community will always stay there, and that we'll always feel like family, whether or not we're cheering at a concert or waiting in line together. So I thank you all again so much for just being so supportive of us. Thank you.
So we have the secretary report. Secretary report is brief. The May meeting minutes have been filed at the SPJA office just prior to Anime Expo on June 30th. The just approved minutes will be filed within the 1 week of this convention. The only other outstanding minutes which are currently still being worked on are the June 25th special meeting of the Board of Directors. Those should be ready for approval by the next open board session.
All right, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Do we have any questions or comments from the board for any of the reports that's given? Cool. All right, what is the next item on the agenda?
Next item on the agenda would be committee reports.
Do any standing committees have any updates to their committees?
The Finance Committee will be working on the annual report. And because I think it would be really cool to have a pie chart in the annual report, because I'm bipartisan. It's an inside joke. The annual report will have a pie chart. That's my, thank you.
Any questions? All right. Do any non-standing committees have any updates?
As for the advisory committee, I don't know if the committee is fully up and running, approved, the charter is approved, and the advisory committee is openly accepting new members who wish to join the advisory committee, which has the advantage of reporting to the Board of Directors what the wants and needs of different people from different levels of SPJA and Anime Expo, including exhibitors, the sponsors, media, industry, etc., are free to join pending approval. They may contact me at sean.thorson@spja.org if they wish to join the committee.
Could you give a description of what that committee does?
Sure. The advisory committee exists for basically for the board to receive feedback from and to basically pose questions directly to the members of the advisory committee to see what their concerns about the organization or their desires where they think things could potentially improve. Again, pending the fact that, as already discussed, the board is a governance board and not operational. But it is a way for us to receive feedback from those people, depending on who wants to actually join it.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions? All right. Do we have any other committees? Thank you.
I'm with the audit committee. We're going to commence with our audit procedures as when the financial reports are complete. So when you have that, we'll be able to start with the audit process.
Perfect. Any questions for the audit committee? Awesome. Thank you.
You went to audit on time?
Oh, that's a nasty. All right. At this time, I'd like to invite the membership committee to speak.
Hi. Is this thing on? Hi, my name is Troy Williams. I am the acting chair of the SPJA Membership Committee. What that is that is a committee that is independent of the board, whose job is basically to oversee elections, to solicit people who are interested in joining the board, and to oversee the interests of the members of the SPJA. The members of the SPJA are usually veteran staffers who have been on the front lines for about 5 years or more, or managers who have been on staff for about a year or more. I just want to go ahead and introduce, who we are, what we do. Pretty simple. Usually in times of where everything is running great, our job is easy. Just take care of the elections. Sometimes when there's some bumpy things happening in the organization, we need to do a little more. We are looking for people who are interested in joining the illustrious board of directors. If you have any interest in that whatsoever, by all means, please feel free to contact me at memcom@spja.org, or feel free to talk to me directly. You can talk to me here either after this meeting, or I'll usually be in my home away from home in the A&B room in 511. Thank you.
Any questions for the membership committee?
No, I have no questions whatsoever.
For Troy, are you also not accepting people to be on the membership committee?
We are indeed accepting, thank you for that reminder. Yes, we are also welcoming people who would like to be on the membership committee. The requirement is you must be an SPJA member. In other words, a 5-year veteran staffer or a 1-year veteran manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. All right. What is the next item on the agenda?
Okay. I believe next we have open questions. I apologize, the internet is not working with my able, so I'm doing this entirely from memory.
Cool. Still, at this portion, I'll go ahead and open the center mic up for public comments and questions. Feel free to please line up. Don't crash over each other.
It's a rowdy looking crowd.
I know. Right. Thank you. Can you just please state your name and your question, please?
My name is Bronco Bergson. Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
First, I would like to say I was really impressed by the access control throughout this entire convention. I realize in many respects that the exponential growth this year must have been very unexpected to everyone, including myself. Very happy to see, but also not without its problems. But specifically, the question that I wanted to ask was, I noticed that they started lining people up in the LP3 and LP2 rooms outside now, which I think was a very smart move, and I'm guessing that had something to do with the fire marshal's instructions. But specifically, I've always recognized for several years the fire exits on either side right next to both the LP2 and the LP3, and I just wanted to know are using those doors, those accesses completely off the table when consideration for line control?
Okay. Well, that is something that we have looked at in the past. However, the issue being those sets of emergency staircases are at an extreme angle if you look at them. So we felt that the potential for injury in ascending and descending those stairs is an unnecessary risk. So that's something that we established is probably not in the best idea for our attendees. So that's why we don't use that.
Okay, thank you. Well,
Can I just say thank you so much for coming to the board meetings every year. Your smile always is so nice to see at the board meetings. It's early morning.
I really enjoy coming here.
Awesome. Well, we enjoy having you here. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Carlton Terry, and I have 2 questions.
Sorry, sir, could I get your name again?
Carlton Terry.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. I was wondering about the pre-registration and mailing tags out. Is that going to be possible? I asked that last year. I was just wondering if there's an update.
We've heard and read quite a few comments to that same suggestion. And it was something that we definitely discussed on day 1, and again on day 2 and day 3, and we will probably continue discussing it for quite a few weeks here. I don't have an answer for you, but from our initial discussions, it would still present an issue because if we mailed you your badge, you're still going to have to pick up a badge folder as well as a lanyard to verify that you are who you say you are, obviously. And that process is just about the same amount of time as printing out the badge in its place. To give you an idea, to register someone, once they're in front of the system, it takes 20 to 25 seconds for someone to scan their barcode and grab their badge. So it's already a very heightened process, but it is something we're looking into. It's just I don't have an answer for you yet.
I was thinking of maybe putting like pictures on the, like their face in their badges, or maybe an age also. But
I have one more thing for you. And then the second thing was there were suggestions of we'd be willing to pay a nominal fee, $2, $5, something like that, to have the badge mailed as well. So it is something we will be looking at, and definitely something that we're going to be surveying about. But I don't, I can't make a decision right here in the middle of this, but it's very, very loud and often heard suggestion. So we'll be looking into it.
My second question is there a possible way to like have on the website like a polling, some sort of polling option for all the events, so that you can have the event in an appropriate room?
As in if you're interested in attending that,
if you're
event,
interested in attending a particular event,
of individuals that potentially attend.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll look into. There is a feedback portion in Guidebook. It's not exactly what you're looking for. And then, we do read social media posts and responses to when we announce mails and whatnot. So it's not exactly tailored for what you're looking at, but it's good. Yes, sir.
Just to address that also, every year it's historical data, but each panel, the tech actually does an attendance count in-house. So they actually have historical data that they can work off. So if the panel is in the previous year, it's been going up and trending up, they can see, okay, we should try to go over here. So you have historical data to work off as well.
We also make personal suggestions for moving certain panels up if they quickly max capacities and that type of stuff, in addition to just having the numbers.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir.
Hi Hi guys, Paul Wilson, long-term staffer, also former board member. This is a follow-up question from one I had asked last year in regards to one of our core values of transparency. I had asked about, among other things, making the board meeting minutes publicly available. Has there been any progress on this? No. As in, like we used to do, why are we not posting them to the website?
Just 1 second.
No problem.
Presently, just so you're aware, the board minutes standardly, of course, are generally available by requesting at the SPJA office. That's standard policy. That said, on the current survey, we've just recently been updating the technical equipment and servers at the office. They are also available digitally from the office. As far as publicly posting them to the SPJA website or the like, that idea is being explored and discussed, and it'd probably be best to bring up that question again at the next board meeting, as I hope to have a clear answer for you on that by then as a definitive, but the idea is being explored.
Okay, thank you. The reason I keep bringing it up is if it's a core value, for the most part, it being available upon request is the base legal minimum, if that's correct?
No.
Okay, what is the base legal minimum for board meetings?
I can't it's hard
Like,
for me to hear what's going on, what your question is.
What is legal requirement? Like I request the board minutes, they have to be provided. They do not have to be put out there publicly, but they have to be provided upon request.
For members, yes.
For members, not for the public?
Correct.
Okay, I thought it was...
Yeah, the bylaws, the corporations code and the bylaws say that the minutes need to be available to the members upon request.
Okay, so not to the general public?
No, that's correct.
Okay, all right. That was a misunderstanding on my part.
And there are many parts of board meetings that
well, I understand
are discussing contracts and contract terms and negotiations that would actually prejudice our negotiations.
And
so there's, and there are things that are entirely appropriate for public discussion. So simply posting minutes on a website is highly unusual for a nonprofit. It's certainly something that an organization can do, but it's not part of what is evaluated by, for example, GuideStar in terms of transparency. It's not, it's not often done by nonprofits, major nonprofits, minor nonprofits. Don't typically post their board minutes on their website. So that would be an unusual thing to do. It's certainly something that can be done, but it's an unusual thing to do in the nonprofit world.
Okay, thank you.
But to address the issue of transparency, I did receive a comment this past year from a member who said that the board meetings are increasingly transparent. He's not sure what is being said, but he's glad it's being said.
All right, thank you.
I just want to make a quick follow-up on that. I also want to be clear, as for the board amendments, I'm trying to make them much more thorough in order to try and show there's more information on them. I'm just trying to make it as thorough as possible so the approval process can be a little slower right now while I'm trying to examine, because I'm literally taking everything down. So
from what I'm seeing, you're still kicking them out and getting them approved a lot faster than we have many times in the past. So props for that.
Thank you, Shannon. Doing great.
Good morning, my name is Daniel Leving. I have been an attendee since 2002. I've been a former volunteer with the AX staff from 2002 to 2005, and then I became a full 4-day and then eventually premier attendee. First is a comment, the Kill a Kill event and the SAO2 event were absolutely amazing. I just want to congratulate the entire staff that supported at those two events. I know it was absolute chaos considering, and I thoroughly enjoyed both events. Second is close to what I experienced yesterday. The Premier Pass registration opened up at 3 o'clock yesterday, but there was a cap for the line that ended at 1 o'clock when I tried to come into the line, and I had to wait about 4 to 5 hours, so I missed about 2 events that I wanted to go to as a result. Last year, we had codes that we could have registered on the 4th day. It was a Sunday, and it was just very organized, very easily done. Is the board considering an easier method than what I experienced in this particular case, like with the ticketing events? We did it a day ahead of everybody else.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for your length of commitment and service. I'm also back in 2002, so focus. So again, the board doesn't do anything operational, so things that pertain directly to AX, how things are run, we can't say, but I can refer this to the team.
So, for reference, we made the decision this year to give priority to those who are on site and not online. So if you were here on site for the opening of Red, you can get it. So anyone that was attempting to register for Premier Fan that wasn't at the show did not have access to register. So that was a way of thanking the people that purchased this year. That was our way of doing that. And secondarily, the codes that we sent out last year were shared with the general public. And we wanted to avoid that again this year. So you're right, that process was better. However, it created fewer for the intended individuals that are supposed to go to, because we give a thank you for those that have been long-time Premier fans. So we apologize that it took so long for you to get registered in through that, and that you missed a good chunk of the show. My apologies. But we really felt that continuing to give you that special treatment as quickly as we could was the priority. So again, I'm sorry it took so long, but again, we were trying to balance, do we let them get it, or do we let other people take who it should actually go?
It's just that a few of the Premier fans came in like an hour or two ahead, and I was over at the registration booth, and they were inquiring about it, and unfortunately they were turned away because as a result. So just wanted to let you know that if it's possible to avoid such circumstances for the next AX.
And we will definitely work on it. You know, we have a very, very hard cap on career fans. There's we set the limit at 1,000, and we don't risk going over. We actually only sold like 925 of them this year because we don't want to accidentally, run past that cap. So we'll work on it. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Peter Wendt. This is my first year coming to AX, so I would like to say it's awesome, and I'm hoping I'll be able to come back every year. Praying for that. I have 2 questions, probably 3, but the 2 major ones. One is, I'm registered as an industry for a convention, and one of the things is that in the industry registration doesn't indicate that the specific requirement for the convention. It all lists everything for as professional, as industry, or music, wherever, but it doesn't tell you regarding about convention specifically wise. And so it actually gives me a hesitation to even register. I literally had to go ask everyone from in our group to see if I'm allowed to apply for it or not. That's why it gets confusion. So just saying, if possible, you can clarify in the registration page that conventions who represent can apply to that page. That's one. Second thing, I had.
Can I address that first?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. So the conventions itself, we encourage them to register through Project Anime because of the purchase of a Project Anime badge, and you have to be running another convention and involved at a senior level at a higher level in it. It actually includes an Anime Expo badge. So we apologize that it's not on the website that way, but that's the reason it's not specified out in the industry side.
I just found out about Project Anime a little while back, and then the person who was in charge is like, "You came? Why didn't you tell me?" I'm like, I didn't even know. That was the problem. The second thing was actually the ticketing. I had an issue with that because because after registering to get the confirmation, I was assuming that you have to, actually no, I wanted to get a ticket for Kill la Kill, but the problem I had was that the confirmation code that they give, it only works after it's been confirmed, and by the time it get confirmed for like, it's supposed to be, it was like what, 4 weeks? It was like almost a full month. The ticket was already gone by the time, and so I want to know, by any chance, would there be a possibility to separate it, to make it independent, but to have it in a way that it indicates, tells that you must require a badge of the convention in order to get in, so that you can buy, because for me, it prevents me to purchase, and I was kind of pissed about it, because I couldn't really want to go, but I waited for a full month and a half in order to get it approved. That kind of like sucks.
You got hosed on that, and a lot of people did.
Yeah.
The process was designed, the ticketing process was designed, because every year we have several thousand people that buy tickets, and they're under the impression they can attend that concert without a badge. So they'll go up to ticketing, get their ticket, and then try to go to the show, and they don't have a badge, so they're not let in. Right? And then we have this gigantic pre-con or ad-con line that they can't get through, and they just end up missing the show. So the attempt this year was, you can't buy a ticket for the concert until you have a confirmation code confirming you have a badge, right? So that's why that was implemented.
No, I understand the whole logic about it.
Right, well, hold on a second. The two systems are run by two different companies. And so ultimately, I know that one company handles ticketing and one company handles reg. The reg company can't do ticketing, can't do selected ticketing, it's not an option that they have. And the ticketing company can't do reg, so it's a, catch-22, right? So ultimately, it was decided, you know what, screw it. We're gonna remove that confirmation code requirement and just let it open in the wild and try and put up a page notifying them. We've still got a lot of complaints about it, but every year we try and find another solution, and we end up, shooting ourselves in the foot in it. And it really makes it a bad situation for you to attempt to buy tickets. So my apologies on that. We're continuing to try and improve, but we obviously haven't gotten it right yet.
Sure. Just one point out first, suggestion is, I did convention running. For premieres, I think one of the good solutions in order to prevent people from standing on the side of the line for several hours is to have like a handout ticket, like here, if you want to go to see, let's say, Sora Line 2 for the premiere, here's a ticket, and instead of having the people to be standing up 5 hours outside in the sun, I was one of them who got burned. So that's one of the things at the point. But there was one more thing, but I'll keep it in the end. This is important.
To answer your last question real quick, we're looking at 2 different models for seating for next year. The first is the Comic-Con model, where we don't empty the rooms after every panel. So that's one potential option. The other is a CES model, where you can walk up to the room and they have 80% are green, 15% are red, or yellow, and 10% are red. So if you're green, you're guaranteed to get in. And then they have a timeline by which they have to come to the room to get in with that ticket.
I know, I did Comic-Con working for it. It's,
yeah. But they have no lines.
Second option.
Oh, except for knowledge. Yes, sir.
The second option.
Yeah, my name is Vlad. I'm the assistant manager for A&B events, and actually, I've been coming here off and on since 1994, so I was tiny still. I'm also president of SAPA, that runs the Anime in Edmonton. That's the oldest anime convention. So I've been on the board for a very long time, and so my question is a little bit more broader because I can ask very specific questions. Like I see you have excellent, you have a good structure. You have an operations side, legal counsel, which is always nice. But my question to the board actually is, this is your flagship event. Ultimately, I still look at you guys as the ones responsible, even though you guys don't maybe steer the actual wheel. One of the things I'm seeing is the staff burnout, I guess, and the loads on the staff that is slowly being imposed is going to be very detrimental. So I don't want to hear really from the operational point of view, because that's just, I want to hear what is the board looking at, what do you guys feel you need to do or go to ensure that this is going to be, that staff can handle this event and that staff can actually be happy at this event, because in the end, if you lose that, the board, you're going to lose the board. You know, as a board, what is in your power to make that happen? Maybe that might be a little bit easier to answer to people. What can you guys do?
Yeah, I could I'm Mark Lemons, I'm one of the directors. So, you know, to us, to run a good event, I think it takes really three things. I think the fandom is the big piece, the staff is the second piece, and really the industry as a whole. So, you know, the last couple of years, we've noticed that, you know, SPJA as general as an organization has been growing, and it's been growing into really this full-fledged business. And, you know, one of the things that we've done in the last couple of years is really build infrastructure. So infrastructure by the employee development that we have. As you see this year, one of the challenges that we had is we had anticipated a certain growth. The prior year I think we did about 62,000 attendees, and we had projected about 70,000 this year. And so some of the people who have staff over the years, such as access control and so forth for the staff, they're longtime veterans, and we have gone through kind of a development process. The challenge what you don't see is that because of the size of the con that we didn't expect this year, a lot of the staff were pretty burnt out. There's a lot of good senior staff, very well trained, but just the capacity of the amount of people really drove a less better experience in our eyes. So, you know, as we continue to grow, you know, staff has been really a vital point for us in the depths of growing them in terms of, you know, their professional careers as well as just training them on site. So the returning staff we have been here for many years, and we grow kind of organically from the referrals of other staff. So I do recognize that as we grow and make accommodations, we also have to make better accommodations to our staff. And you know, we get the opportunity to meet and see kind of the ground level at the convention. And I think as a whole we agree that we need to do more for them as they continue to grow. Because really at the end of the day, you know, the people wearing the red vest, the green vest, and so forth, they're trying to create the best experience for all of our guests in our industry. And sometimes they don't receive all the resources that they have. And when we, you know, project resources and so forth, we think we have given them enough, and we come to realize, you know, year after year, they need more as the convention grows. So that's kind of a 50,000 feet level where we look at the perspective of, you know, our organizational staff and so forth.
Last quick comment to make is just, and I'm pretty sure you guys understand that the staff, they look up to you guys, because you guys, you know, ultimately are what leads us. So that's a very important thing. We have to have confidence in you guys.
And the other point I want to make is, you know, we have a lot of staff that are part of other conventions, and so it's just not the extension of SPJA. It's really, you know, the appearance and the promotion of all conventions, because we all learn, you know, best practices with each other. That's why we have the creation of Project Anime. And, you know, these particular forums today, where, you know, each and every are giving us best practices, those are the things that we take back. You know, every night when the convention's about done at 11 o'clock, all of our staff meets, and we talk about everything that went right and what went wrong. And what is very important is really rewarding, you know, the staff that we have, that they've done a good job, because, you know, you see it, some of the staffs are in the sun with the same attendees, and, you know, they're tired, and we try to make as much accommodation for them and give them whatever they need in order to try to make a good show happen.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your comments and saying that the staff look up to the board personally, and I'm sure some other board members raised it. The staff, for us, you guys inspire us to be the best board members we can be because of all your hard work and dedication. So that's why any staffer I see that looks like they're having a hard day, I immediately want to give them a hug. So I am the hugging board member. So you asked about what we do within our power, and honestly, for me, if I'm not helping set a budget, I will give hugs. So.
Are they free hugs?
I think I want you to do something.
There's been so many good things happening this year with staff, she's exhausted.
I will try as a staff member to keep you inspired.
Thank you.
I just want to make one last point, is that, a lot of the conventions are all ran as a nonprofit model, right? And all the advisory we see here are all on, pro bono basis. We want our industry experience in order to provide a good show and really kind of balance within a business and within the fandom. And all the fundings that are received here are either, sent off to various charities or as well as rebuilding the infrastructure of really not just Anime Expo, but other conventions and so forth to be able to provide resources. So, we've been doing this for a long time, since '92 at many cons, and we still haven't got it right yet. And it's still an evolving process for us. And as the convention grows and grows, we face a lot of macro problems that we continue to address on the spot and try to plan for the future. So, are we going to get it right every year? I think we'll get pretty close, but we'll always feel kind of the pains of the growth and just experiences within the event itself.
Well, just don't forget to always ask. There's nothing wrong with asking for help, no matter how experienced you are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Scott Nishinaka. I have been an attendee for about 4 years now, and I've also been a volunteer for 3 years. In fact, I have to thank the volunteer department for giving me this last year so that I can attend things as a premier holder. But anyway, this year for the volunteer department, or for AppCon volunteers, I guess I was a little confused since there was no application for it, per se, on the website, and I didn't even know the department was even running until the first day, about halfway through that day. Is there any way that the volunteer department can be held somewhat accountable for getting certain, I guess, operations available prior to the con in that regard?
So for our volunteers, for on-site volunteers, we actually reduced that program largely last year and more so even this year. We found that we prefer to have a longer training process with the staffers, and we're not eligible to do that with the volunteers. So there's a constant demand for more educated staffers, knowing where Reg is at, knowing where the panel room's at, prog ops, convention operations. There's always a demand from the attendees. We wish your staff had more information and could give us more accurate information. And this is not calling to light you at all, or any of the previous volunteers, but it's much easier to ensure that our staff has that information if we can take them through a training process. So there's the requirement of doing 8 or 40 hours, I can't remember, I apologize, of volunteer time before the show even starts. There's a training program that they have to go through. There's a survey system they have to go through, a test they have to take. And it's, we would lose an hour or two at minimum doing that for each of the on-site volunteers. So that's why that program is shrinking. So your question was, why isn't more of that information available on-site? Well, it's something that we do as a much smaller percentage than what we used to do in the past. And so we have people that occasionally ask for it, and we'll send them up there, but we're realistically not taking even an eighth of what we used to take in volunteers on site. So that's why that information is left. We will work on getting more information, but that program is not dead, but just incredibly
Just a quick comment on that regard. The volunteer department, just in general, has inspired me to not only be a little more active in this community, but also to take into consideration of staffing. In fact, I'm planning on being a staff member for next year. And I actually kind of noticed that a lot of volunteers go in that same route. So if you want to encourage more people to become more staff members, perhaps there should be maybe not as much emphasis as there was on volunteering, but at least to have that still available in order to segue that into a much better staff, since we've said over this whole meeting that Anime Expo has been growing and therefore staff should also be growing. But that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think a good thing for that is, if you're not willing to do a whole 4 days on volunteer for a couple hours, it's a good way to test that. And it's not 100% accurate for how the actual system is, but you're right. So we'll keep going.
Yes, I had another question. Do I need to restate my name?
It's okay. I've got it in here.
Just checking. Just to be clear, I'm just speaking for myself, but I'm just repeating what I read and heard from another person here, specifically Zach Mursky, the editor-in-chief of Anime News Network, who is here at press. He tweeted and spoke a couple of times about having problems getting into certain panels when he was in the premiere fan line. Specifically, there was one volunteer or someone in access control who wouldn't immediately let him in, even though they could see that he was press. Another staffer had to essentially step in order to let him pass through so that he can, just do his job. And I wanted to know, is that like a problem that's come up before with other members of the press? What kind of feedback are you getting from them, and how the convention should be run, either better or how well it's doing now?
I just want to, I'll let somebody else answer that question in full, but I do want to point out, actually, going back to something we discussed earlier, that is partially part of the purpose of the advisory committee, so we can get that feedback from press included. So I would recommend, if some people have comments on that in the press, or what would make the convention more pleasant for press, to join the advisory committee so they can bring those comments, and that will be heard by, I believe, the present 2 members of the board who are members that are myself and our vice chair, John Rodarmo. So, as far as just from a pure standpoint, that it would be advisable for someone to come to that, to join that committee and discuss that with us. That said, I will defer the full answer to your question to someone else that's otherwise operational.
3 seconds and then they're kicking us out. So, Zach is cantankerous on a good day, but we love him. And we manage very well to hit every one of his buttons pretty much every year. So, we should congratulate us on that. Yeah, we're very thorough on hitting his buttons.
It happens.
For the rest of the press, there's always going to be an issue of some kind, because there's so many different schedules that they have to hit, and so many different timelines that they have to achieve for their coverage, as well as the timelines for our guests. So we do what we can. It's never going to be a perfect year. There's just so many moving parts. But yeah, we work on it. Thank you.
He does like coming here more than Comic-Con, from my understanding.
Touche.
And somebody did go over and help him. Yes. So rather than talking about people facilitated it, right, he's like, somebody didn't do their job better.
A quick comment. Your activities room is amazing this year. Good job.
Thank you.
And if you have 80,000 people coming this year, and projection graph is going up like that, gonna have like maybe 120,000 next year.
Fire marshal issues. No.
Yeah, our trajectory is quite a bit, and I think we all in agreement that we have the ability to grow, but what's more important today is to grow really internally, because we can grow attendees and so forth, but if it jeopardizes experience, we have to take a couple steps back, and that's going to be a long haul for us to be able to train staff, build better experience, fix lines, and so forth. So that's all things that we always talk about a lot and implement. So, you know, trajectory, yeah, we think about it, but, you know, I think what's more important to us is really fixing the house before we build another house.
Quality.
Yeah, because like I said, we project 70,000, and we literally did that on day zero. And we had to make on-site adjustments in order to accommodate everybody. But you know, within that said, you know, some of the experience, I would say, took us a couple of steps back.
All right, thank you.
Can I get your name real quick, just for Carlson's hearing? Thank you.
All right, so I'm closing the public comments and question sessions. Final note is that I used to staff LP. I used to promise myself if I was ever up here, I'm not going to be one of the panels that ran late. I am sorry. So
Touche,
I really
man.
apologize on that, and thus I'd like.
We still have one item on the agenda, which is the open meeting for the date for the next.
It's okay, we got those dates. Do you have them written down?
Yeah, you do.
I'm open totally in August, so
Yes,
whatever we say.
well, the August meeting is supposed to be our post-con retreat. So we set a weekend date.
Yeah, it's the
23rd to the 24th. If that's all right with everybody, we can set that as the next board meeting.
That's fine.
Yeah, sure, I'll make that a motion.
And I'm going to second that.
Okay, awesome. See.
So we have a motion on the floor setting the next SPJA board retreat
Voice
and
vote, voice vote.
meeting to August 23rd and 24th. Yes.
Quick question on the topic. Is that meeting going to be open to the public?
There will be a public meeting at the end of that retreat, as is our custom. Usually we'll go throughout the weekend and then we'll hold the meeting at the end.
Most likely, we're looking at August 24th will be the day the open public meeting is on that. And, you know, and I encourage you guys to join the public meetings, because you'll see kind of what happens organically throughout the year, and what we plan, because there's a lot of adjustments that are made.
I would love to if I'm on the other side of the piece of Canada.
Voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye. All right. Move to adjourn second. Voice vote. Aye. All right. I have adjourned this meeting at this time. I have my phone over there. Thank you, everybody.